You know what is happening. Doubt becomes a weight, a burden you carry, invisible but present. If there were clarity, you wouldn't hesitate. If there were real freedom, you wouldn't feel trapped. It's not confusing, it's simple. The truth does not favor inaction. Observe the facts. You think, question, wait, and always justify. And what happens? The other adds, disappears, promises, does not fulfill. This dynamic is clear, a pattern that repeats without exception. Doubt becomes your chain, and you sustain it. Not because you want to, but because you are afraid to decide. When someone wants, they act. When someone respects, they commit. When someone cares, they leave no room for doubt. The rest is just noise. If you need to analyze every word, you've already noticed the cost. If you need constant validation, your position is already clear. You are not trapped, you are paralyzed. And paralysis is a choice. The raw reality is this: nothing changes while you continue hesitating. As long as there is doubt, the chain persists. You don't need more time to decide. You don't need more conversations. You don't need more empty promises. You need to confirm whether you will continue in this cycle, whether you accept the prison or decide to end it. There is no comfortable end in this game. There is a point where you need to stop accepting. That point does not arrive on its own. You know this choice is yours. No one can decide for you. The illusion that someone else can save you is a crutch. You keep it close, like an old friend who never intended to help you. Meanwhile, time passes and the days drag, each heavier than the last. The other returns, and you allow yourself to believe in the empty promises again. A cycle that repeats with the regularity of a broken clock. And you wait. Wait for what? May the change come from outside. May someone's behavior change without you having to do anything. You become a spectator of your own life, sitting on the edge of an abyss that you helped shape. The weight of unmet expectations is overwhelming. Each day becomes a repetition of the previous one, a shadow of what could be if you were truly willing to act. And then there's hope. Hope is treacherous. It whispers that a phone call, a message, or a benign gesture will change everything. You believe that love can overcome logic, that the connection is enough to justify staying. But reality does not bend to your will. The other person has their own needs, their own interests. They might even like you. But liking is not loving, it's not wanting to be present. And you continue to navigate this sea of confusion, where waves of conflicting feelings crash against the rock of your reason. You find yourself surrounded by memories that weigh like anchors, words spoken and unspoken, moments that should have had meaning but now echo empty. What happened to the time when you felt valued? Now it seems like a distant echo, muffled by broken promises. And the role you play, what are you doing? You adapt, you mold yourself, you become what the other wants to see. You become an artist of emotional camouflage, hiding your true needs under layers of concessions and excuses. This game is dangerous. It erodes yourself, leaving only fragments of what you used to be. Look around you. See how many doors remain open by you, hoping the same thing doesn't happen. It's comforting to have options, but it also imprisons. Each door you leave open is another reminder that you are afraid to close, afraid to be alone, fear of being abandoned. This is already part of who you are. You ask yourself, what if I leave this situation? And the answer is clear. You will have to face your own truth, the one you have been ignoring, the one that says you also need to be a priority, that every relationship should be an exchange, not a burden. But you back off. Fear speaks louder. Failed emotional structures have a way of keeping us trapped. The cost is high, you realize. Lost time, drained energy, compromised mental health. Every drop of self-esteem that slips away when you submit to uncertainty. You can't go on like this. The price is greater than any momentary comfort. In reality, you are selling your freedom for crumbs. The bill arrives, and you can no longer ignore it. Your sanity deteriorates as you continue to give space to someone who doesn't care to reciprocate. What do? Stand still? Of course. You could, but it's a choice. Staying is comfortable. It's the known. It's what's in your sight. However, paralysis is a poison that seeps in, slowly but relentlessly. You live in this fog where clarity is a distant dream and decision becomes an abstract concept. You blame the other, but the true responsibility is yours. The chains are made of choices you made or didn't make. The truth is, you need to decide. Will you continue accepting crumbs or let go of what doesn't serve? Whatever your choice, it is yours. And now, reality presents itself starkly. You don't need more promises that will never materialize. The only thing you need to do is face the mirror and ask yourself if you still recognize the reflection. If the answer is no, the time for change has come. The reality has been laid out. You look in the mirror and the image you see is a stranger, a version of yourself that got lost in concessions. Every choice not made becomes an echo, a voice whispering about unexplored possibilities. The eyes, a window to an abyss. You see there the shadows of dreams you let slip away. Doubt consumes strength. Fear is a stealthy thief, stealing the courage to act. And you ask yourself, what more do I need to lose to finally act? Each passing day is another chapter of the same story, a tiresome narrative where dissatisfaction is the only constant. The conversations that didn't happen occupy space in your mind. The truth swallowed become a slow poison, corroding what remains of yourself. And meanwhile, the other advances. He keeps his pace without looking back, without thinking of the marks left on his path. You know why he can, because you allow it. You are not just a supporting character. You are the author of your own life, but you decided to hand over the pen. With every moment lost, the story shapes itself based on the actions of the other. External decisions dictate your plot, and you watch powerless as if there were an invisible wall between you and freedom. This place where you are now is familiar, isn't it? A comfortable trap. You already know this pain. It's almost a part of who you are. But how much longer will you let yourself be defined by what doesn't serve you? At some point you experience the lightness of feeling valued, a genuine connection where affection didn't need to be contested. But now, that's a distant dream, like a beacon of hope that was extinguished, and you wonder if it will ever shine for you again. The answer is subject to your action or lack thereof. This cycle of emotional exhaustion doesn't bring learning. It brings repetition. And repetition is tiring. This reality becomes oppressive. As the days go by, the weight increases. What was once light now weighs tons. What should have been an exchange transforms into an eternal and solitary struggle. Imagine how many moments of joy were exchanged for uncertainties, moments when you could have allowed yourself to be free. But today you carry this burden, and the load only increases. This is the routine you accept, and the decision to continue in this cycle is yours. There is no innocence in the consequences of staying. And then, the epiphany comes. You realize that you no longer need to fight against the tide. The tide is just a metaphor. What really has to change is you. The real battle is not against others, but against your own self-imposed limitations, against the fear that insists on keeping you still. And so, with each passing day, you wonder if it's still worth it. Is it worth making an effort for someone who doesn't make an effort for you? Is it worth waiting for promises that were never kept? Suddenly the answers become simple. You should no longer submit to a love that is not reciprocated. Love is an act of reciprocity, not a sacrifice. Look around you. The open doors are there, but choices are necessary. Choices that require courage. Courage to close doors, to open new possibilities, to say enough to everything that does not add value. Deep down, you know, change will not come from outside. It starts within. And when you finally decide to act, the weight will begin to lessen. You will be able to breathe. The fresh air of freedom will enter your lungs, replacing stagnation. Forget the idea of comfort. Comfort is deceptive. What you desire is peace, inner peace, the certainty that your decisions are aligned with what you truly want. And then you see the chains starting to break. Each commitment you decide to end is a step towards a space where you can rediscover yourself, where you don't need to hide behind emotional masks, where authenticity is the norm, not the exception. It is scary, of course. The new always is. But remember, you are not alone in this process. What you do now reverberates in the future. Every word unspoken, every action not taken leads to an outcome, and you decide what that outcome will be. There are no guarantees that change will bring immediate happiness. But the truth is, you are already exhausted. You're tired of running in circles. The only expectation that should exist is that you deserve something better. And now, with this awareness, you return to the mirror. You find your image again, a reflection that can be molded, a self that can be rescued. Reality imposes itself again, and you are ready to embrace it. Reality has already been presented. The mirror reflects not only your face, but also the truths you have been avoiding. You see yourself there, and suddenly a strange sensation arises from within, a connection with what truly matters. What is absent? Self-love, respect for yourself. What you find is a graveyard of unlived dreams. Each stifled desire and every abandoned project echo like screams in an empty corridor. The search for external validation has become a labyrinth. Each turn leads to another dark corner, where a feeling of despair transforms into a constant shadow. You wonder, when did your needs stop being a priority? When did it become acceptable to sacrifice your time, your energy, your essence for someone who does not share your vision? The answer lies in the choices you made, or in the ones you didn't make. Every decision you pushed away is like an additional weight, and that load becomes unbearable. What was a light burden is now iron straps that tie your feet to the ground. You feel it every day, in every interaction. The room gets darker, the colors fade, and the hope you nourished turns into a sweet poison. It disguises reality, camouflages what should be non-negotiable. Respect. You hope the other person lets their guard down, that they make the effort you long for. But deep down you know this is a dream. Meanwhile, time marches on and changes remain out of your reach. The conversations you want to have pile up in a stack of "one day I will," but one day never comes. In the days that follow, the moments when you could have spoken become recollections of an untraveled path. The memory of what could be shines brightly, like a distant star. You try to reach it, but each attempt is frustrating, and so you continue navigating with no defined direction, a boat adrift in a sea of indecision. Then, in the midst of this internal storm, you find small fragments of light, reminders of who you were before you settled for so little. Moments where your joy did not depend on the validation of others. You remember sincere smiles, authentic friendships. It's as if part of you wants to scream for help, but the other part remains silent, aware that change requires courage. This internal struggle consumes you. On one side, there is the urge to seek freedom. On the other, the fear of the unknown. What lies on the other side of the door you refuse to close? What could you lose that you haven't already lost? These questions transform into monsters under the bed of your mind. They devour your strength and feed hesitation. And while indecision persists, what you really want becomes hazy. Where are your limits? Where are your personal expectations? The truth is, you have the right to demand more. The right to walk away from relationships that drain your energy and corrupt your essence. You cannot continue trading your peace for crumbs of attention. That is not love. It is disguised manipulation. And when you realize this, a flame begins to ignite within you. A latent will, a desire to rewrite the narrative of your life. Now you must choose. Remain in the same cycle, or embark on a journey of rediscovery. A journey that is not about seeking approval, but about reclaiming what has always been within you. The value you possess does not depend on anyone else. It is intrinsic, essential, and needs to be recognized. It is time to wake up, to look into the eyes of the raw and unfiltered truth. There is no room for illusions. There is no reason to remain in the shadows. What you need is clarity and determination, and the first step is to confront the other, not with accusations, but with assertiveness, with the certainty that your voice has value, and that your needs are not mere options. In doing so, you may discover a new power, a power that comes from authenticity and recognizing your own strengths. By standing your ground, you not only transform your narrative, you redefine the space you once occupied in the life of another. And in this process, you become invisible to those who do not know how to recognize your worth. Once the change starts, it spreads like a wave. Situations that once seemed insurmountable become challenges, and you face what really matters. You begin to understand that true love, the kind worth having, starts with yourself. The doors you decided to close are not barriers, but steps toward the unknown, steps that lead to freedom. Sometimes, all you need is to take the first step and refuse to look back. After all, the story of your life is still being written, and you hold the pen. Reality has already been presented.